This is. Go ahead.
No, that's very good.
Well, of course, I can't resist a glib remark, which is that European integration has resolved the unemployment problem in places like Latvia by simply allowing half the working population to immigrate. A more serious point, though, is it isn't. And John, you warned us not to be too gloomy and doomy about it. And for once, I found a reason to say something moderately upbeat. It isn't the case universally all over Europe that governments are failing. What you find in places is the ability to articulate the hard case and sell it to the public. I live in London these days, and obviously there the government has acted early on, has put in place unprecedented austerity measures, and God, lo and behold, they actually their popularity has been holding. There hasn't been a radical alternative emerging. There's obviously those who are familiar with the British economy will tell me, okay, the real austerity measures have yet to hit, but the governments have been fairly open about the real impact and about living standards actually decreasing and sort of staying low and stagnant for a few years, and they have been able, through a combination of just being honest and being active in communication, build the public support for that. Similarly, Greece, not an example we usually hold up. And of course, there's an awful lot to be held against the government and its past actions. But the reality is that the Prime Minister Papandreou has been able to put in place and win at least parliamentary support, clearly not popular support, judging by what's happening in the streets, but at least a parliamentary support for measures, austerity measures, that are unprecedented in a democracy and in a developed country. True. So, I mean, there is some sort of a positive feedback loop. Governments do respond, or some governments do respond some of the time and rise to the challenges, and they are, in some cases, able to bring publics with them. And I also think that, again, time will have an educational effect on the government's actions. I think that what we're going through is there's a psychological explanation for why is it the governments are refusing, many of the other governments are refusing to level with the public, which is we're in denial. I think that's just a regular stage of what you go through. What has happened is that literally a dream of prosperity and a dream of ever-increasing living standards, something we've been taking absolutely for granted over the past 40 years, has just been yanked away from us. We're staring down a road of essentially 10 to 15 years of stagnant and possibly declining living standards and incomes. And that's a terribly shocking thing for politicians and the public to accept. And I really think that for a number of governments have simply not drawn the conclusions. And I think they're simply in denial of what's happening. They are looking for reasons that they probably understand rationally, don't make any sense. But they're looking for a way they will emotionally feel them better about the crisis by scapegoating somebody else. But I think eventually, once you realize that's what the reality is, there is no way other than hard slog and austerity to go out of it. I think you will see governments adjusting their actions. I remain somewhat of optimist, and it's on the basis of an actual success cases in Britain, like Britain, in Europe, like Britain and like Greece.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas, for pointing that out, because it's a great example. David?
Thomas, I appreciate your optimism that we're in for 10 years of declining standards.
That's right. No one drink the Kool-Aid
I hate
at home
to see you as
this,
a pessimist.